Lily opened her eyes. It was still dark outside. She looked at the clock. 7:02 a.m. Then she heard it again. It came from the ceiling, from the apartment upstairs. She closed her eyes. She covered her head with a pillow. But the sound didn't stop. It got louder. Lily got up. She walked to the kitchen. She made coffee, but her hands were shaking. The coffee tasted bitter and cold. She sat by the window. Her eyes were tired. Her heart was tired too. "I need peace, I need sleep," she whispered. She looked up. A crack ran across her ceiling. She stared at it like it might answer her. That night she went to bed early, but at 6:55 a.m. it began again. She sat up in bed. Tears filled her eyes. Noise can break more than silence, she thought. It can break people. She didn't go to work that day. She stayed home, holding her pillow. The hammer didn't stop. The next morning it started even earlier, 6:45 a.m. She stood by her door. She wore her warm coat. She held her keys tightly. Her fingers were cold. "I have to say something," she told herself. "I can't live like this." She walked upstairs, and she knocked. Lily stood at the door. Apartment 302. The noise had stopped, just for now, but her heart was loud. Like another hammer inside her chest. She knocked. She waited. Footsteps came closer. The door opened. A young man stood there. He had messy hair and paint on his shirt. He smiled. "Hi," he said. "I'm Tom." Lily opened her mouth, but no words came. Then she took a deep breath. "It's too loud," she said. "Every morning. I can't sleep." Tom's smile faded. He scratched his head. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know it was that bad." Lily looked at his eyes. They looked honest. She felt her anger slowly cool, like hot tea left out. "I just need quiet," she said softly, "even for a few hours." Tom nodded. "I understand," he said. "I'll talk to the workers. We'll start later. And try to be quiet." Lily didn't know what to say. She nodded too. "Okay," she said. "Thank you." Tom smiled again, this time smaller. "I'm really sorry," he said. Lily turned to leave, but then she stopped. She looked back. "A soft voice," she said, "can open a hard door." Tom blinked. Then he smiled wider. "I'll remember that," he said. The next morning was different. The sun came in through the window. The room was quiet. No hammer, no drill. Just birds outside, singing softly. Lily opened her eyes slowly. She smiled. "This," she whispered, "is peace." She rolled out her yoga mat. It had been a long time. She stretched her arms to the ceiling. It didn't shake. She laughed a little. Later she made coffee. The smell filled the room. Warm. Calm. She thought of Tom upstairs. Maybe he really listened, she thought. Maybe he really cared. At 10 a.m. she climbed the stairs. This time no heavy coat. Just her, a cup of fresh coffee, and a small note. She knocked. Tom opened the door. "Hey," he said, surprised. Lily held out the coffee. "It's peace-flavored," she said, smiling. Tom took it. He smiled too. "This smells great, thanks." They stood in the hallway. It was quiet, but not the awkward kind, the good kind, like two people who understand something without words. Lily looked at the wall beside them. It was full of paint spots. "You like fixing things?" she asked. Tom nodded. "I like building," he said. "But I don't want to break people while I build." Lily looked down at her cup. It was warm in her hands. "Peace is the best sound of all," she said. Tom nodded slowly. "One kind act," he said, "makes the whole building warmer." It was Thursday. The sky was grey. Lily lit a candle in her room. She felt calm. She felt safe. Then it came. The drill. It hit like thunder. It shook her walls. It shook her chest. She dropped her cup. It broke on the floor, just like her piece. Lily froze. Then her hands became fists. "No," she said, "not again." She ran upstairs. She didn't knock this time. She pounded the door. No answer. The drilling stopped, but no one came to the door. She waited. Nothing. Her heart was racing. Her throat felt tight. She pulled out a pen. She took a sticky note from her bag. She wrote fast, her hand shaking. "I trusted you. Now I just hear lies. Noise without care is like a promise broken." She stuck it to the door. Then she walked back down. The hallway felt cold. The stairs felt longer. Her room felt smaller. She sat on the floor, next to the broken cup, next to the silence. But this silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like sadness that has no words. Trust is quiet, she thought. Once lost, even silence is loud. She didn't sleep that night. Not because of the noise, but because of the quiet that followed it. Lily didn't go out the next day. She stayed in her room. She didn't light a candle. She didn't make coffee. She just sat in her chair, looking at the floor, looking at nothing. There was no drilling that morning, no hammer, just silence. But it didn't feel kind. It felt cold. At noon, someone knocked on her door. She didn't move. Again, softer this time. Lily stood up. She walked to the door. She opened it. It was Tom. He held something in his hands, a small box, and a piece of paper. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know they came early again. I was at the hospital with my dad." Lily blinked. "My dad had surgery," he said. "I should have told you. I didn't mean to break your trust." He held out the box. Inside was a mug, a simple white mug. On it were 4 words. "Quiet is a gift." Lily looked at the mug, then at Tom. "You built something," she said softly. "Not just noise, but honesty." Tom looked down. "I want to fix the wall between us," he said. "Not with tools, but with care." Lily smiled, a slow, tired smile, but real. She took the mug. She held it in both hands. "Come in," she said. "There's coffee." Tom stepped inside. The door closed, and behind it the building felt a little warmer.